Did you know that the Death Guards buff, the movement speed increase you gain out of base after you respawn, only works when you're running down a lane and will instantly fall off the moment you run into the jungle, meaning it's actually optimal to run down a lane and then pivot in the jungle, even if that's your final destination? Although the new objective Atacant absolutely shreds an insane amount of armor and magic resist, reducing up to 50 armor and 50 magic resist from every member of your team. That's as much as 2,000 gold worth of armor and magic resist that you're losing for every single member. But this debuff can be removed quickly. Just tag out with a teammate and leave the pit for just 4 seconds until the stacks fall off. Otherwise, you risk fighting a teamfight with armor and magic resist that looks like this. Now, those are just two of the many little known game mechanics you probably never even knew existed that I'm going to be showing you in today's video, where you're going to learn a ton of little known but hugely impactful things that you can use to level up your play in the game. And while I'm at it, I'll probably throw in the occasional quick tip or trick that you can use along the way.
My name's Rogue and I played League of Legends professionally for 7 years. Now I'm a full-time content creator and coach for all ranks Iron through to Challenger. So if you want more information of what a coaching session with me will look like, you can find more information by following the link in the video description below.
To start us off, when playing a ranged champion like Kindred, it's actually possible to take one of the 3 Void Grubs from over the wall by standing in this exact spot, which allows you to take it more safely in situations where it isn't safe to enter the river for a proper contest. As an added bonus to this is absolutely worth doing in a real game, because the first Void Grub you take actually rewards you with double the XP as a proxy jungle item, again giving you bonus XP. And as another added bonus on top of that, this is even more worth doing now because it denies the feat of strength bonus of taking Void Grubs from your opponent. This is because in order for the Void Grubs to count as an objective taken for the feat of strength, you have to take all 3. Taking 2 out of 3 is not considered taking the objective, and if this happens, neither team will gain progress towards their feat of strength for the Void Grubs. Now for one of my favorite itemization tips in the game. When leveling up, most champions gain about 3 to 4 armor per level, but will only gain about 1 magic resist. This means that by the time they hit level 18, most champions only gain about 20 extra magic resistance, but will gain about 80 armor, putting them at just over 100 armor. 100 armor gives you a 50% reduction in physical damage taken, so at this level, you need to have a percentage armor penetration item even on assassins, since even the enemies with no defensive items at high levels will become tanky against physical damage just from their high base stats. Whereas if you're a magic damage dealer, you can hold off on buying a void stuff until later when the enemy actually buys defensive items, since magic resist growth is just so low. The last thing to consider here is how fed you are. An ADC player who is extremely fed can sometimes delay their armor penetration item until their 4th item, since one of the main reasons that they need to build armor pen is to combat the high amounts of armor their opponents gain through level ups, but this is most likely unnecessary since they'll be outpacing enemy level ups and finishing items more quickly because of the fact that they're fed. But in games where the ADC player is behind in gold, you'd likely need to build that armor penetration as your 3rd item, since if you delay it, there will likely be a massive stretch of the game where you simply deal no damage, as you'd be hitting enemies with 100 plus base armor, whilst yourself having no armor pen until extremely late. Now that last tip took a bit longer to explain, so let's rapid fire a few quick ones now. When the Keystone Arcane Comet is on cooldown, hitting a spell on an enemy champion will reduce the cooldown of Comet. This has some pretty cool interactions on certain champions. For example, every attack from Zara's plants reduces the cooldown of Comet. The same is true for Cassiopeia's Poison, which genuinely makes Arcane Comet an extremely powerful choice for these champions, as occasionally these spells hitting will reduce the Comet's cooldown so much that the spell comes back up, and then instantly procs again on the next tick of this damage. Respawning dragons receive a buff that increases the amount of damage they deal and reduces the amount of damage they take against every member of the team that killed it. This buff does stack as well, meaning that after a couple of dragons, it will be significantly harder for you and your team to kill it than it will be for your opponent. As a final note here, make sure to factor in that you will be doing reduced damage when you try to time your burst with your smite. Your burst damage may not be as high as you think it will be if you've already taken multiple dragons in this game. A few patches ago, Riot made a change in which the range you get XP for a minion dying was increased slightly. Here's a graphic I made displaying the new radius, from within which you would get XP for the trading dummy dying, if the trading dummy was a minion, of course. Fun fact, the range in which is exactly 3 times Lucian's auto attack range. Here's something I know all too well as a former pro support player. You can easily take timers of enemy summoner spells in the chat for your team. First go to settings, then interface, scroll to the bottom and tick the box that says show timestamps. Now when you ping an enemy summoner spell, they will appear in the chat along with the timestamp of when you pinged. Now later on when you recall and you have some free time walking out of base, you can use those timestamps of those pings to take the timers. First type out in chat, then press Ctrl A to highlight them all, Control C to copy them all, and now whenever you press Control V, it will paste those timers in the chat again. You can even click and drag to highlight only a certain part of the text so that you can delete old timers for spells that come back off cooldown without deleting the new ones. This is best used to time summoner spells, but obviously has other uses. Play nice, guys, come on. Now, I wanted to take just 30 seconds to give a shout out to a website that I'm a big supporter of that helps support me as a content creator. This is CurryGG. With CurryGG, you essentially sign up for free as a player or as a team, and from there you can find other players to recruit and team up with, or teams that are looking to fill a spot on their roster that maybe you can fill. To give you a little bit more incentive to sign up, I'm even doing a giveaway as well. One individual player and one entire team that signs up using my affiliate link will win a coaching session with me. And remember, it's completely free to sign up as well, so head on down to the video description or to the pinned comment below for my affiliate link, and who knows, maybe you can even win a coaching session with yours truly. Thanks heaps for watching that. Now for a good one. Here's a quickly explained everything you need to know about wards and the lingering vision mechanic. After a ward is killed, it gives a small amount of vision that persists for around 2 seconds, that can give away in which direction you went after killing that ward. Or in this case, can be used to mislead by fake walking one way and then doubling back the other. This is not the case with pink wards though. When they die, no lingering vision is given at all. Sweepers will disable wards, but after a short delay, so in some spots you could sweep a ward over a wall, wait a moment for it to disable, and then walk right on over it as to not show up on the enemy's minimap at all. When a ward is disabled by either a sweeper or a pink ward, it has no vision, but if the ward is attacked, it will grant a small amount of vision for a second. PSA, do not hit the disabled ward in the back of the dragon pit. You are inting your jungler, the enemy can now see dragon. This one's more well known, but I wanted to include it anyway because it helps someone out there. But you can swap your support item at any time if you want to change the upgrade. Just sell the item in the shop and rebuy it with that new upgrade. The winning team's minions receive a buff that increases the damage they deal and reduces the damage they take from other minions. This is based on the average champion level difference of both teams, but also the amount of towers taken in that specific lane. Here's the formula for how it's calculated. I don't know what half of this means. I play League of Legends for a living. So the simplified version is that your team needs to be at least ahead by 1 level for this to work at all. If your team is ahead by at least 1 level, you can then gain the bonus from having taken more towers in that lane, otherwise that bonus won't work. Your creeps gain 5% increased damage per team level advantage or tower advantage in that lane. I'm not sure exactly what reduced damage means, but from a quick test it seems that minions take massively reduced damage until they've lost 100 health, and then they begin to take normal damage after. This mechanic does work as a double-edged sword though. It allows the winning team to more easily close out games since their waves will naturally push towards the enemy's base, but it also deprives the winning team of farm whilst delivering big stacked waves to the enemy team for them to farm in return. Minions as part of wave 1 of the game have different behaviour compared to other minions. Wave 1 minions generally don't want to interact with you unless you get extremely close to them. Here, the wave 1 minions for the most part ignore me even though I'm the only thing close to them. But then when the wave 2 minions arrive, you can see that these minions are much more eager to aggro onto me, even though I'm standing in exactly the same place. This is because the wave 1 minions do not have the user programming to aggro onto the closest target to them. They're instead programmed to seek out and evenly split their damage amongst the first 3 enemy melee minions, which leads to this nice convenient moment where all 6 minions consistently die at the exact same time if there is no champion intervention. Now here's something I feel like a lot of people don't realize or they just forgotten about, and that is that the reward for killing Baron is massive, way higher than most people realize. First of all, Baron instantly gives an evenly split 1500 gold to all members of the team that kills it. Then it gives every single member of that team a large amount of XP as well. But did you know it also gives a ton of local XP? About half a level's worth of XP that gets split amongst all nearby teammates when it dies, meaning if you're the support and there's no fear of an enemy contest, you should probably leave Baron early and go somewhere else so that local XP is injected into your carries instead of being shared with you. In total though, the amount of XP the Baron buff gives is equal to about 2 full champion levels that get split amongst your team, but it's the buff itself that is powerful. The power of the buff itself scales with the game time, but when taking a 25-minute Baron, which is the earliest and weakest version of the buff you could possibly get, your entire team will still receive a huge 80 AD and 135 ability power, that if bought in the shop would be the equivalent of 5,500 gold worth of stats. This means that by taking the weakest possible Baron, without any enhancers, you still gain the combat power of 2 full levels of XP and a combined value of 7,000 gold worth of stats and gold. Think about that for a second. That gold amount is more than you would obtain from 23 champion kills. This huge injection of power massively overshadows the simple buff to minions that people usually associate the Baron buff with. Therefore, next time you win a teamfight and have to choose between pushing the enemy's base for 2 towers and an inhib, or simply taking Baron, always choose the Baron. You can click on towers and hover over this buff to see how much gold you get as a reward for killing them. I even made this map that you can use to see how much gold every tower on the map gives you. Notably, side lane tier 2 towers are the GOAT. Make sure to kill them if you ever get the chance. An interesting interaction you almost definitely don't know is that Baron buff increases the movement speed of nearby minions, but this movement speed amount scales with your own movement speed, which means popping Ghost in order to speed up your minion wave might actually be the difference maker one day in a base race. And finally, cannon minions gain increased attack speed when hitting a tower in mid lane. This effect does not work in side lanes either, only in mid. I'm guessing that this was meant to compensate with the fact that mages have low tower damage early game. My simple advice, don't leave the enemy alone with your tower and a cannon wave, otherwise it's probably going to go boom pretty quickly. And that was my 18 mechanics that you probably didn't know. Now I'll just ask you to head down to the comments and tell me which of these mechanics you didn't know to start with, and then leave a list of everything you can think of that I didn't include so far. That way you can help teach others, while also helping me out with YouTube's algorithm, so more people get to see this video and I get a little bit more rewarded for the hard work it took to make it. Thank you so much for watching, and as always guys, have a great day.